Question 36. This is one of the most annoying questions on the SOL. It says, which shape must have opposite sides that are parallel and congruent, and diagonals that are perpendicular bisectors of each other? My prediction is that you will not remember all of these properties. There are so many properties to memorize, and it's not worth it. What I would recommend that you do is that you go through your answer choices and draw a couple of pictures of each of these shapes and try and see if it satisfies all of your properties. So I'm going to start with the easiest one. I think the rectangle is an easy one to start with because we're good at drawing rectangles. So here we have, that's a rectangle. This is also a rectangle. It's a square too, but it's also a rectangle. And maybe we draw one like really tall. Now, if the answer is B, all of these rectangles will satisfy all of these properties. So let's see. Opposite sides are parallel. Yes, rectangle. Yes, yes. Okay, so we're good on the opposite sides parallel. Opposite sides congruent. Yes, we're good. Rectangles have opposite sides congruent. Now I get to diagonal stuff. And diagonal things are always awkward. Diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other, which means if I draw both of my diagonals, they're going to look like they cross at right angles and cut each other in half. If you look closely at these diagonals, this angle here looks bigger than this angle here. It doesn't look like right angles, like perpendicular lines. So we're not perpendicular bisectors. So it's not a rectangle. Right? So, depending on what shapes you're comfortable with, you might find another one easier. Trapezoids in general have very few properties. So if I just draw a trapezoid, that's one set of parallel lines. I have something like this. Opposite sides are parallel. Well, that's not true for these two, so it's not D. And now we're left with the rhombus and the parallelogram. Every rhombus is a parallelogram. So if parallelogram is the correct answer, rhombus would also have to be correct. So I'm thinking it's going to have to be rhombus, just by logic. But I'm going to draw a rhombus and just verify that it works. Rhombuses are tilted squares. That's normally what you look like. So yeah, we don't need these pictures anymore. We have something that was going to be a square, but it's just kind of slanted a little bit. Squares are rhombuses, and maybe we'll draw like a big one too. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you're just saying, does it look kind of like something? Opposite sides parallel, yes. Opposite sides congruent, yes. Diagonals perpendicular bisectors. If you draw your diagonals for this shape, they do look like they cut each other in half, and they look like they do so at right angles. Looks like we have right angles. It's going to be C. This is one of the most annoying questions on the SOL. I would say to answer this question, you're probably going to have to draw 3, 4, 5 different pictures, just so you can get an idea of what's going on.